the biggest misconception is this overtraining, this obsession with overtraining, and this is more a Western philosophy. There are too many people that look at exercise in of itself as painful, and it, as we speak on, your linguistics speak volumes. How you talk about things on an unconscious level is determined what's going on internally. The beautiful echoing and chanting of Taoist ritual. How powerful, how penetrating. Enveloping, saturating. Let these ancient sounds echo deep within you. Welcome to the consciousness of the way, my beautiful divine co-host, High Priestess Jade.
We're matching today.
We are. Black is my color.
It brings out your eyes.
It does. Well, howdy.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody. What an amazing day. What an incredible day.
Mm-hmm.
Effortless action. The very essence of everything that we speak on, everything that we breathe on, everything that we operate within this incredible cosmos, within the universe. Effortless action. The infinite, limitless affinity that Taoists have with the universe, the source to everything, the Wu-Ji.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stillness that's within the yin and yang, breath in and breath out. How powerful it is.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting when you think about it that the majority of like your healing or repair or anything with your physical body happens when you're not awake or when you're asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we go through the whole day going, oh, I got to get my green smoothie in, and I got to exercise, and I got to, do my breathing techniques and all these things, when it's like you don't realize the most powerful healing and part takes place when you're completely unaware it's even happening. And with everything, with everyone's always like, I gotta eat the right food, I gotta eat at a healthy restaurant. It's like you're doing more beneficial things by just not eating than you think your choice of food actually is. Or we'll get into exercise today, but the same type of thing.
Oh, exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The human body, its place within the universe, the housing that contains your eternal, immortal, spiritual self, the soul, the anchor to this reality, the cluster of matter generated from wave with the very intention, attention, creating this miracle. 50 trillion cells all acting in concert, 0.07 millivolts of electricity. And you are in possession of that. The synergy, the electricity, the magnetism. And then, of course, understanding the inner workings of this mass of energy that is formed into matter. And you are the master, the keeper, the creator of that. And what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And people always start with the basics. Get my body straight. Understand this. There's a guy I watch on YouTube. I just stumbled across him. A very interesting guy. There's a lot to it, but then there's a lot less to his observation. But he'll just take like some fancy trainer and or some exercise expert, whatever, nutritionist, whatever. This guy's he's a doctor. I don't know what he's the doctor of, but he's a doctor. He has a PhD, which means a lot, I guess. It depends on who you're speaking to and what they're doing with that information. I can resonate with what he's saying, and I can validate it because I know it. I have a very extensive understanding of the human body and its relationship with the universe. So I can value what he's observing. But that doesn't validate his perception. It's validated through me and my experience, my understanding, my resonating with what he says. And that's how it should be for everybody. And understand you have this incredible innate magnetism to your truth. And you are the barometer to determine what that is. Not a piece of paper, not someone touting that they know more than you. You know it within yourself, directly from the Jade Emperor. If you have to learn it, you do not know it. If you know it, you do not have to learn it. Let the mic drop on that one. And he always reminds us, one of the most profound awakenings is every day he reminds me, and it's as if I heard it for the first time. When you accept you know nothing, you will know everything. Sifu, my mind is melted. What am I supposed to do? What does that even mean? Well, you go through your life, and now especially, we have so much access to information.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a believer in censorship of any kind. It's for you to discern what is true and what is not. It's not for me to tell you. You will know. You'll know. You gravitate to it. People either sit and listen to Jade and I, or they don't. It's not for me to decide what you resonate with. It's for you to decide what you resonate with. And so, you have access to information. Use it, listen, read, absorb, determine what the value is to you.
Or what isn't the value to you.
Right. And this comes back to the fundamental understanding of Wu Wei, which is effortless action, effortless effort in of itself, understanding that this simplicity is part of the synchronicity that is the Tao, that is the universe, that is the quantum, the shadow, the field, the Planck field. I mean, we can go on. But that's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. And I think it is definitely one of those things where some people learn by instantly connecting with it, and then some people learn by um, disconnecting from it and being like, wow, this feels innately wrong.
Right.
I'm getting so some people will get the good vibe of like, oh, I really vibe with this, and some people will get the get me away from this. This is not my thing. This is not for me. You do you, but this is, and both are such powerful lanes of information
Yeah,
for you to start crafting your mastery.
100%. Realizing that, the only limit is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is only what you believe. Your truth is the only truth you need to be concerned with. And, people will spiral off into other subsections of that and determine that the validity of it is not their truth. That is completely fine to determine that you create and craft your reality on a subsection of what you perceive as your truth, laws, rules, ideas that work for you, that are concepts that work for you, hypotheses that work for you, formulas that work for you, realization of information that you have validated to determine that is true for you.
Yeah.
There's nothing, that's the whole purpose. That's what we keep reiterating, is you need to determine what your truth is. And the faster that you understand that your neurology will determine that for you, that supercharge that you get that synchronizes with the field, that 5D reality, which is what we keep speaking on, because people are experiencing this shift of consciousness instantaneously. Just every day I speak to, lots of people. And depending upon my time, I will spend more or less time with them. Sometimes I don't have the time. If I do, it could be in dozens of people. It's all relevant to the time that I can speak. But let me tell you, the biggest in my weeds, in your own way, misdirection of all human beings is that they are limited.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's it. And when you have that aha moment, that blammo moment, oh my goodness, you are coming home. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, you are coming home and you are leveling up to a whole new reality. And that's why we always speak on the neurology. We speak on, that's a validator. You're given this human experience. This is why when you look at the control and limitation that comes with certain belief systems, may it just be, ideas, or perhaps something a little bit more set in stone like a religion, the limitation of the human being is the biggest misconception. And so, whatever you believe in, allow it to give you the tools to blossom to your potential. And we still have no idea what that is.
Mm-mm.
The human being is literally this high-tech ancient tool that we are just getting warmed up on. And it's funny that we come to this precipice of a moment in history where, just as we're having a basic understanding of the magnitude, the power of us as an individual, as a collective, as a singular, that, people are now suggesting that we should, toss that ancient technology and let's go with something more futuristic. So you don't need this stuff. Let's give you the integration of, bits and pieces with flesh and blood, and you'll be just fine using a chip to make decisions for you. Well, that's a fallacy. I mean, a lot of the physicists today that are cutting edge unfortunately are revealing things that people don't want to hear within the scientific community, because then they would have to rewrite their whole careers, rewrite the understanding of what they've been teaching is wrong. But that's the whole evolution of, physics, right? Is measuring the physicality. That's what it means. How does that form within the scientific model of understanding the universe and the human being?
Yeah, and I think they've, I don't know the exact percentage, but I think it's like they've only studied like less than 5% of the capability of like your neurology, the human body,
Right.
all the different mechanisms of how your blood flows and how your cells change.
Right.
And it's like, it's like, they've only studied this tiny little bit of the stars and the planets and the universe, and they keep studying more and realizing, wow, there's another planet, or there's a new moon.
Right,
There's
right.
I mean, it's our bodies and the neurology and how everything is so intertwined. It's like I see how they get so excited, and I also see how they get so intrigued, because it really is almost infinite.
Well, it isn't almost.
It isn't, but I would say scientifically, they could study this forever and
absolutely.
still never kind of hit that closure point of like, we know perfectly how every single thing has its mechanism.
But I mean, that's the affinity that the Taoists have with the universe. We know, but we don't need a scientific crunching of 0 and 1s to determine that. That's internal. That is external. All is one, one is all. And so that...
I was going to say, if you know it, you don't have to learn it.
Right. I mean, it rings true.
It goes right back to
I mean, it rings true to anybody. Anyone who hears that powerful incantation, as we are experiencing the rippling energetic effects, that is your register. That is your connection. That is your 5D experience. And that's the simplicity of it. So people are operating this way. Look to the people that you admire, that are successful, that inspire you, that get you all fired up because of the achievements that they have made within their lifetime, and you'll realize that they are doing this anyway. And so all I do is get excited with people that, we don't speak much of it, but, Jade and I have been working with a lot of people over the last couple of decades, primarily, people within, Silicon Valley, more close-knit sort of very incredible thinkers and people that are investing in the future of the world as we know it. I'm not one to determine what is valuable or what isn't, but high tech is an evolutionary thing that continues to move at lightning speed. And so, you realize you're dealing with somebody who is operating. I could put an EEG on any of these guys. Use like Elon Musk for one, and that guy's running gamma all day long. He confesses that he has a few issues with his processing of his reality. I think he's spoken that he may have been working with I wouldn't even call it a disadvantage. Asperger's is like not a disadvantage by any stretch of the imagination. That is the brilliance that he brings into this realm.
Right. It's all in the belief system.
Oh.
What do you believe are your limitations or not limitations?
Oh yeah, and
it's like,
right.
just because he got a like a white coat diagnosis, doesn't create the limitation. It's all in the belief system,
right.
Just like we talk about.
Right. And so, look at the brilliance of the things that he's achieved in his lifetime. Now, where we cross roads is when he's integrating chips into people and all that kind of. That's not in my opinion, something that excites me. It's a passion of his, and he's moving forward at lightning speed, and I think that's fantastic. Not something that I would gravitate to, but that's the whole point of it. I'm in possession of the supercharged AI. I'm in possession of the supercharged anything. There is nothing to this day that will ever hold a candle to the human being. Mm-hmm. Nothing on the face of this earth or within this universe that we are aware of. The potential is incredible. I mean, I can go on about the feats of truly engaging Nigong and Qigong, the ancient Taoist practices, and being able to really cultivate and move into places, sensory perception that is beyond your wildest imagination. Leveling up on your perception of your reality and your sensory perception is where we start crossing into this incredible expansion. You're leveling up of your consciousness, obtaining that 5D reality where you can start bending reality as our most incredible, amazing the genius that started to lay the groundwork for at least the physicist community, science-based reality, E equals MC squared. What's up, Albert? But he coined that bend reality because that's how he perceived it. He fell short on a few things, but it didn't end with him. It was just the beginning. Mm-hmm. And he was channeling information directly. You do not come up with these mind-blowing reality checks unless you are hooked up to source. That's how you're getting it. This brings me to a few people that I know, especially a very good friend of mine, and his son has achieved incredible feats of, crazy. When you look at him, he's just chilling. It's another day in paradise. But he's gone through a higher education, and he really didn't need it, but he did it. But the reality is I remember speaking to him when he was a young man, a young boy, in his teens, and he could come up with these incredible answers to these mathematical sums that would blow anyone's mind. You needed 5 calculators to process the answer to it. And he'd be able to come up with the answer. And when I asked him, because I knew I could see that the guy was doing things that I've been trained in, I'm aware of, I'm skilled at, this is my realm. And I said, so how do you do that? And he just says, I just sit and wait for the answer, and it comes to me. Mic drop. And this is really, and if you're not engaged with the audible sound that will, an audible recognition, voice recognition component of your sensory perception, and that's leveled up and developed by the individual as you continue through your leveling up of your skills, your sensory perception, your neurology, all that, it becomes so heightened. So the electromagnetic field is ultra sensitive. Your feeling of all these things are ultra sensitive. And so he didn't have the audible. He had access to the information. He was working with his unconscious. There were so many other dimensions, and he still does it to this day. He's brilliant. He's really brilliant, but so are all of us.
Right.
But, I just love to observe this magnificent acquisition that human beings have of this access point to the quantum, this access point to possibilities that are abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. That excites me.
It is very exciting. And when you just kind of tweak a few, it's like everything is like all these little cogs. Mm-hmm. And if you just turn one a little bit here or move one a little bit here, all of a sudden that changes the whole pattern that they all spin together, all, you know what I mean, all at the same time. I'm stuck in kids' toys, so our kids have little cogs, and but when you watch it, it's like you spin the bottom one, and it spins all the way through to the top one, and it's like energy is no different. When you just adjust a little thing, whether this cog is off or this one's out of alignment, and you put it all together, it's like this electric kind of feeling throughout your whole body. All of a sudden, you're like, whoa, I kind of feel superhuman.
Right, and that's that superhuman experience that you know, we talk about the entanglement within the quantum, the entanglement within the universe, the entanglement within the field, the Planck field, the levels of the Planck field, you know, go from macro to micro, and it's like subsections, and you're just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right down to a proton, right down to a photon. These are like, and they all have the same. So let's be very clear on the premise when you understand, you know, quantum physics in of itself and the holographic model. And the reason we call on that, because that would be the quickest way to understand the quantum in of itself. So if you go from a mitochondria all the way down to a photon, you know, all, you know, to subatomic levels of detail, but what the premise or the understanding or the model that they use for hologram is that you can take a proton and you can look at it, examine it, and within it will be the universe. What? Sifu, what are you talking about? Let me repeat myself. Now you take, let's just say you take a cell and then you break it up and then you look at it under a microscope even further. That cell will be whole in of itself in all the different parts. So that's the premise and understanding of the holographic model, is that all is one, one is all. No matter whether you look at it from a photon level or you look at it at the level of the scope of flesh and blood, it doesn't separate itself. Whether it's at the tiniest form or the largest form under a microscope, it is still whole. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. And, you know, people are like, oh, you lost me 20 minutes ago. Hey, we will have you engage with an understanding of this stuff at some point. It doesn't matter when. Just allow yourself, experience the experience that we're sharing with you, and allow yourself to absorb it at the pace that you need to absorb it at, and you will find your own level up of consciousness that is your entry point. And when you do, blammo.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it happens without you even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
It'll happen, and then you'll come back 5 days later and go, oh, wait. I didn't even realize that happened. I didn't even know, you know, consciously I didn't realize it, but unconsciously,
Right.
You know,
Right.
It's constantly receiving and
Right.
and sending
And
all day,
let
every day.
and let that sink with you.
Yeah.
That gut feeling, that resonation that has you compelled to sit and listen to Jade and I is all you need for a validation. And you're refining, you're leveling up. Your mirror neurons are responding to this very experience. And it's surging. It surges. It replicates. And that's why it's so exciting for you. That's why it's so exciting for us. This is what takes place. This is the unity. This is the oneness that we talk about.
Do you think that relates to, you know how they always kind of, people say like, oh, you buy an animal that like looks like you, if you have like a bulldog face, you're more attracted to a bulldog or a cat or like a cat or something like that.
Oh yeah, well again, the mirror neurons, and then of course, you know, we're talking about you know, the epigenetic model. You are a product of your environment. The rippling effects of that even comes as as simplistic as, you know, one of my closest friends, almost, I mean, he's a brother to me. And, we spend a lot of time with each other on the phone, and sometimes we physically spend time together, but we don't get our families together constantly.
Mm-mm.
Yet we all know each other, and that synergy is rippling out into, just things that are happening within his life that are happening within our lives that are identical in their nature. And you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
And that's the power of what we've spoken about this before in relation to epigenetics, understanding how you are who you hang out with. The old expression, you are what you eat, literally you are. You are what you think, literally you are.
Mm-hmm.
And all these things are determined, and they express themselves in your daily life. And so, just speaking on what Jade was mentioning before, the physical body. Now, even though it's not evident in my physical appearance these days, but I spent the early years of my life pursuing, a physical affinity with just source, and that replicated itself into, being at one with, exercise, fitness, bodybuilding, powerlifting. And, even though I've been involved in this spiritual realm and my commitment to it for the last 30 years, I did have a very focused connection with the physical. So understanding, sports, high-performance athletes, bodybuilding, the physical body, the neurology, the endocrine system, how they all integrate together. I have a very deep understanding of that. And that's why they call me the Sifu.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's actually how we met.
That's
It
right.
was like, I was playing soccer in college, and he said, do you want to, it was winter break, so we had 6 weeks off.
Mm-hmm.
And I was such a gym rat. Mm-hmm. And I was there every single day, and he's like, do you want me to help you, with your training? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And over that 6 weeks, all the rest of the girls were snowboarding, vacationing, and I was just in the gym. And coming from that kind of background, which is hardcore, you'd wake up at 5 a.m., you'd do weight training in the morning, you'd go to class, then you'd do practice, then sometimes you do weight training after. So it was it wasn't like I wasn't already putting in the time or effort or
Mm-hmm.
or ability in the gym between soccer practice and the gym and the weight room. And when I started training with him, it was okay, how often are we going to train? I'm up at 5 a.m. I had this routine. And he's like, 3 days a week. And I was like, what? I'm used to doing double days. I'm used to doing weekends. And he was like, yeah, no, just 3 days a week. And he put me on this training system for 6 weeks. And I came back. We did our coach after that 6 weeks wanted starting points. So we did
Mm-hmm.
physical tests to see, okay, going into the spring season, where is everyone's physicality of their starting point? Mm-hmm. And I was number one. And you have to understand, I was a goalie on my soccer team. And I beat everyone in the just starting point, just by you tweaking the tiniest little things. And people were honestly thought I was doing drugs. they couldn't figure it out at all. They were like, what happened?
Right.
I lost 15 pounds.
Right.
I mean, I got stronger, more muscular, the whole thing. And they're like, you don't even need to run 100 yards that fast. You're a goalie. And it was when you can just specialize in knowing how the neurology works, it's so powerful versus like, oh, I'm just in the gym 3 hours every day. You know, people always say, put in the time, put in the time. It's like smarter, not harder.
Right, right. No, I mean, Jade makes such a good point. It's just I discovered this as a young boy. I instantly synced with the connection with the human being, and just pure iron, pure brute force, understanding the power of it, and being able to connect with encapsulating that weight and moving it with elegance. And, that understanding, that fundamental understanding, I mean, you look at the evolution of health and fitness industry right now, and it's all been done before. I mean, it's the same with the spiritual space that I operate in and have for 3 decades. That is, again, I just teach people rituals and trainings that are thousands of years old, tens of thousands of years old, but there's always going to be an attempt to reinvent the wheel. I do not dismiss any way someone levels up their consciousness. It's all gravy. Understand this, though. More likely than not, anything that you are observing or you are gravitating to has the ancient words, ancient symbols, ancient numbers integrated into the very essence of what it is that excites you, because it's in your DNA. It's a part of you. So realize that, and you're going to level up your consciousness to a whole different ballgame. And so the human body, and as Jade was saying, less is more is ultimately, I mean, I lean on the Jade Emperor, one of my teachers that we just spoke on, one of his famous incantations. If you have to learn it, you do not know it. If you know it, you do not have to learn it. And this also applies to another one of his incantations that he speaks on, but more likely than not, highest purity talks on that, also known as Ling Bao. That's a completely different manifestation, transformation of that particular energy, that particular immortal. Long story. In any case, he will always speak on, if you have to speak, you do not know. If you know, you do not have to speak. And that ripples out into so many fundamentals. We talk about the psychological effects of just competition in of itself. The psychology of it. I use that because it's a word that people understand. The mindset. And so Jade talks about less is more. And it ultimately was. She trained less than she ever did. She got into the best shape of her life. And then she kicked everyone's ass. Literally, like, performed at a level that was never seen before in that training. And the biggest misconception is this overtraining, this obsession with overtraining, and this is more a Western philosophy, a Western principle, a Western, I don't know, masochistic type of process, because it really is. I mean, when you look at how a lot of these teachers, PE teachers, strength coaches, all that kind of stuff, they understand they're dealing with this blossoming ball of energy, ball of hormones, a funnel of alchemical high peak performance drugs that are in the shape and the constitution of your physical body. Because when you're at that age, when you're going through college, your body is starting to peak its performance and understanding the chemistry and how it works. And when you tweak it with the right information, light information, energy, moreover, a training system that evokes the potential of those hormones, because they're really the secret source drugs that you are accessing naturally.
Yeah.
You are naturally accessing. When I see, young people, male or female, that are have been sold on the idea that they need to use, external forces to obtain their goals, and you're being lied to. Maybe too many YouTubers you're watching, whatever it is. Realize you have the power within you. Realize you have the chemistry within you. I remember as a young boy having started bodybuilding when I was 11 years old, that by the time I was 15, most people thought I was on steroids. They're like, well, what are you taking, man? I'm like, let me see. Chicken breast, fillet steak, and broccoli and carrots. And they just started laughing and like, yeah, okay. So what are you taking? I'm not taking anything. Mm-hmm. I'm eating, I'm sleeping, and I'm training. And I think I don't want to say it's delusion, but I would say at the ripe old age of 19 or 20, I had a sobering reality, because maybe we didn't have the internet at that point. Maybe we didn't have access to information, but I had no idea. I was idolizing, I'll say it, the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I studied his material. I used it as gospel, and I applied it. I mean, he's motivational in so many ways. He's affected the health and fitness community in so many ways. He's very powerful. Unfortunately, I think he's lost his way right now. But in any case, that inspiration, when you understand the flow of the universe, I hooked into that, man. I hooked into that, and then I took it and I replicated it into my very essence. And I rode that wave, that excitement that just drew me to the gym, drew me to exercise, drew me to bodybuilding, drew me to powerlifting. And that was a whole nother ball game. And so when you realize how powerful you are, there's nothing you can't do. And that means that you can replicate these internal energies. So, what's really popular right now is getting a really clear vision and understanding about the third eye, which it's not really here. It's deep inside your head. But let's just say it's here for reference. And that power is a whole nother big deal. You're oscillating the pineal gland, and you're getting those crystals to start, basically firing up the projector, and you're getting visions of your past, your present, your future, and they are vivid. They are all powerful. They are all knowing, because when you understand how the universe works from just this training that I've been given as a Taoist priest, a Taoist master, these are ancient trainings that come from the monasteries that I'm ordained in from China. They go way back, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. And then even deeper trainings that I'm ordained in other monasteries that are 3, 4, 5, 10,000 years old. Understand that all this stuff is integrated, and we all have it within us. So, less is more. We're reflecting on the exercise component. You have to do little to nothing to obtain the best representation of yourself. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this. I haven't fully. I just briefed over it. But there's and I'm intrigued to find out what that means, because how you obtain your peak performance has nothing to do with volume. So when Jay talks about, I was looking at him like, what? You just want me to train 3 times a week? And that was really literally maybe a 2-hour workout, and an hour and a half of it was her and I talking, and she was doing intense work. But like when she would bring her A game, she'd bring her A game. So understanding that it all has to do with performance, it all has to do with efficiency,